I think, as I said after the game, that very proud of the way our team competed in the game. You guys really played hard, played with a lot of heart, great competitive spirit. But when you look at things, the devil is kind of in the details. We could have really lost the game based on mental mistakes, mental errors, lack of execution at times that led to really bad plays for our team. So our focus needs to be on getting these things corrected, but having the ability to focus on sort of each and every play. It's kind of hard to figure out when you get behind in a game 24-3. Basically gave them 14 points. One on a missed execution of a line call, which gave them a sack fumble for a touchdown. One which was a busted coverage in the secondary, which was really pretty easy. Lack of discipline and eye control for an uncontested touchdown. And then come back and sort of go 45-6 over the next however many minutes in the game, and then do a really poor job of finishing the game like we need to finish and allow them to score 13 points in the last 5 minutes or whatever in the game. So all these things catch up with you if you don't fix them, correct them, focus on every play and get things executed properly. Leads to lots of problems. So you don't ever want to beat yourself. And when you do things like that, you give yourself an opportunity to beat yourself. It's one thing to get beat physically. Can't cover them. I can't block them up front. That's different. All right, and that may happen someday. All right, but all this other stuff, you beat yourself. And that's what we got to get fixed. So I'm sure you all got the players of the week and all that. We're not practicing today. I think our team needs a little bit of a physical rest and recovery time today, so we will have our normal meetings and we will do stretch and stride, but we are not practicing today. Our Darius Stewart would be the biggest question mark for this game. I think Jalen's fine. Eddie Jackson, I think, will be fine, and Minka will be fine, but it may take a day or so to get those guys back in the lineup. So the focus here for us is to sort of pay attention to detail, play in and play out, so that we get better consistency and execution and we don't beat ourselves. And, you know, Kent State, my alma mater, you know, I was telling Terry this morning, I watch these games and these tapes and look on the field and play there. And I can't remember too many games that I played in there. So I guess I'm getting old. But anyway, they did a nice job against Penn State. It was 16-13 at the half, and they actually missed a field goal to tie the game. And I think they've settled on a quarterback, number 17, Mitchell, who's a very athletic guy who has played really well for them. And you know, you don't have to look far to find Central Michigan beating Oklahoma State. The Mid-American Conference is sort of known for being able to come up against some pretty good teams and come up with some wins. So, and obviously, North Dakota State beating Iowa last week as a ranked team. This happens every week. And it happens because the teams that they're playing don't have the proper respect, they don't prepare correctly, and then they don't go out and play very well, and the other team has players too that are very capable. And they need to be respected, and we need to focus on what we need to do to get better as a team and play to our standard, and that's certainly going to be the message for this week.
Start back with Cecil.
Coach, just to follow up on our Darius, a couple of things. If he can't go, who's the next guy? Robert Foster? Does he have an expanded role?
Well, Robert will play some, but the guy that's been playing really well for us is Cam Sims. So we would, you know, play him as well. And be an opportunity for some other guys to play. The young guy that we've been trying to play both ways, who has got a lot of promise, is Trayvon Diggs, who, because of our lack of depth in the secondary, we've tried to be playing in both ways, which I think, we'll probably try to emphasize a little more offense with him this week.
And just a quick one, I'm sorry, just a quick one about the Ole Miss onside kick that they recovered. Is that just a perfect kick by them? Is there
No,
something
we didn't block the right guys. If you do what we do, they twisted. Supposed to pass off the twist and block the guys. Calvin probably didn't. It was a great kick and a really favorable hop for them, the way it hopped. But he let the ball play him rather than playing the ball, and we didn't block the guys right. If you block the guys right, you still have a chance to recover the ball because they don't penetrate to the ball. They twisted, 17 came around, nobody blocked them, we didn't block the right guys, and that gave them a chance. But these are all the things that I'm talking about in terms of not executing the details of what you need to do, which gives the other team opportunities to beat you and make plays. It's taken nothing away from them. It was a really good kick. They executed what they did right, but we didn't do what we did right. And so it's a little frustrating, but we have to work with the guys and use these things as learning experiences so that we can grow and get better.
Up front here with Mark, on the right.
I know Damien has been the #1 guy at running back, but how are Bo, Joshua, and BJ Emmons developed, and how do you plan to handle that rotation going forward?
You saw them play. What do you think of them? I mean, they're all playing pretty good. They're coming along. They're freshmen. They're young guys. We're happy with them. We're happy that both fumbled the ball at the end of the game. Another thing, attention to detail. I mean, we're 4 men and we're taking the air out of it, and we fumble the ball. So if you like that, I mean, I don't know if I liked it when I already did it. So.
John Zener.
2 questions if I could. One, Jalen's not, there's several freshman quarterbacks who are kind of instantly playing, Jacob Eason at Georgia as well. Is there something about the high school offenses? Are they preparing them well? The style of offenses, the coaching they get in high school, they're preparing kids well to come in and play quarterback pretty quickly, or is that?
Well, I can't answer that. I think it depends on the style of offense you played in high school and what you developed in and then what you go to in college. I think if a guy played in a spread offense, he's probably more apt to be able to come in and play early in a spread offense in college. If a guy played in a pro-style drop-back sort of offense in high school, he's probably going to be more apt to be able to play in that style of offense in college. I think it's when you get the crossovers. In other words, a guy was a spread guy, and now you want him to be a drop-back guy. That's what takes time to develop guys, because the learning curve is completely different and sometimes a little bit foreign to the guy in terms of what you're trying to get him to do. So I think that's probably more the reason that guys can play early.
And do you think, in your experience, do games like this against Ole Miss, can they be kind of growth experiences? Because they see a lot of things they need to correct, but they also maybe gain confidence in each other and themselves when they're facing adversity on the field?
Well, it can be. I mean, I think if you can be happy about the way you competed in the game and that you won, but also be disappointed enough in the way you play as if you lost, then you'll learn something. I don't know if you can do that or not. It's not really human nature to do that, but if we can do that, then we'll accomplish something.
Left middle with Rayner.
What was the rationale behind using, so many jet sweeps and bubble screens in the first half and attacking them horizontally?
Well, I think that a lot of the stuff that we did in the first half was set up some of the things that we did later on. But I also think that, we were really trying to, we thought that we could execute these things, and if you look at them on the film, if we would have blocked them correctly, again, attention to detail and execution, they would have been better plays. I think that we were trying to run the ball in the perimeter to see if we could get them tired, which we did, and then we had a lot more direct runs later and played a lot more physical interior line play for us, and had success running the ball inside. So sometimes, one of these things build on the other, and I think that was sort of that was the plan in the game. They got pretty good speed on defense, and they tracked us down pretty good on the edges, but when we came back and ran the ball inside off of some of the same motions and the same formations. That's what you folks don't sometimes get. The guys going on the jet sweep. All right, now you hand the ball and run a counter the other way, and they're all running out there because you ran the play in the first half, and now you bust them on this play. But you all don't see that. You just see, well, we ran that play good, so why didn't we run it more? My wife's the same way. Why didn't we run that play in the first half? No different. Kristen, same way. Yeah, they got all the answers.
Go over here with Ben.
Did you like the combination you used on the inside of the offensive line for this game, or how you handle that from here?
Well, I still think there's competition there. I still don't think we're satisfied with, Bradley played pretty well in this game in a tough situation, in a tough environment to make, line calls, but we're still not totally satisfied with the inside three guys and how they play together, and we're going to continue to have competition, at those positions, and I think that's as much as I can say about it. Although I do think the line played better.
Go here in the middle with Michael.
How is the read option added to this offense, added a dimension to it, and how difficult is it for a defensive coordinator to prepare for a quarterback who could do that kind of read option?
Well, I think you certainly got to practice against it. It certainly adds an element to, what you have to try to defend. I also think that it complements some of the other things that you do. And I think all these things work hand in hand in, having a productive offense. And I think, we want to do what our quarterback can do, but I also feel like we need to get better at throwing the ball, especially down the field. We left a lot of money on the table in the last 2 weeks, not throwing the ball with the open guys where we're supposed to be reading it, and we got to get better at that. And we know it's a work in progress, and we're going to keep working at it. And I think if you had the combination of, look, they're going to play you different on defense if you got to run a quarterback. Well, if you can throw the ball too, you can make them pay for that. So that's what we need to focus on improving on.
Up front here with Dwayne.
Coach, there was a lot of plays reviewed, a lot of instant replays. How much do you feel like that impacted the game? And is there any suggestions for how they can speed it up? Does that affect flow when they're taking a lot of time?
I think the thing that's more important than all of it, if you're going to put it in some priority, is, it slows the game down. Yeah, there's a lot of reviews, but I think the number one priority is everybody wants to get it right. And I think the game's a lot better that we have replays that we get it right. I mean, think of the significant plays in the game that got overturned that were difficult calls on the field. All right, so I'm not complaining about the officiating. They're difficult calls on the field. Just take the 2 quarterback fumbles. All right, both guys, at times guys were down, but it was a big play for them. Jalen was down. It was a big play for us because they didn't score a touchdown when they got down to the 1-yard line, and the guy drove basically through the ball in the end zone, and they ended up recovering it. If it would have gone out of the end zone by that much, it'd have been a touchback, and they wouldn't have got any points. All right, so so just those 2 plays. What if we didn't review those 2 plays? I'm for them getting it right, and I appreciate the fact that we've gone to the new system where we have sort of a command central where we have the best people reviewing these things and making the best decisions. So I think hey, everybody's trying to get it right, and I certainly appreciate what you're trying to do to get it right.
Up front here with Ken.
I wanted to ask how you thought Shaheem Carter played, especially in Minka's absence, but I'm going to talk about his development a little bit.
Well, we've got a lot of young DBs that several of them got a chance to play at the end of the game, and I think this experience that they got will be invaluable to their development. We've tried to play them in other games this year so that they can develop. And we're encouraged by the progress that they're making, but we certainly need to continue to make improvements. I think part of the issue at the end of the game for us was they were in empty, the whole time. And having a couple, three, no Ruben, no Minka, no Eddie. All right, so you got the signal caller in the secondary and the signal caller up front that aren't in the game. And we were afraid to call things that we had practiced against empty, not knowing if we could execute it. So we really played with our hands tied a little bit, which almost cost us at the end of the game, allowing them to get back in the game. So Shaheem has done fine. He's making great progress. I hope that this game experience will help his confidence, and he'll learn from it and grow and understand the importance of, I think when you talk about freshmen, and I think there's unique guys, and we certainly had some last year. Minka was a unique guy. Ronnie Harrison was unique. Deron Payne was unique. Calvin Ridley was unique. But when you take freshmen, all right, and you think about when you were a freshman in college, and I'm assuming that everybody here went to college. I mean, I don't mean to, I really respect this group, right? So, but, I mean, these guys are still trying to figure out going to class, how to handle social aspects of their development, which is a little difficult when you're that age, and come to practice and prepare for a game and all that. So, some guys are unique in their ability to do that. Jalen's a little bit like that. I mean, he's very focused. Nothing affects him, nothing bothers him. I mean, nothing bothered him in the game. I mean, so, but for most freshmen, me included when I was a freshman, I'll be the first one to join this group, it's difficult to make all those adjustments academically, socially, and athletically, and go out there and play in a game of that magnitude and feel like you got both feet on the ground.
Two more quickly here. We'll start with Sheldon.
Coach, a little two-parter. Non-offensive touchdowns, that appears an area that you guys do have attention to detail. Can you talk a little bit about that, and also how demoralizing that is for an opponent?
Well, they had one against us too, so, but, it's something that we work on. I mean, turnovers are a big part of what we work on, and not only getting the turnover, but returning the turnover, and how to block them, and that's something that's been very beneficial to us. What have we scored? 5? Is it 5 this year so far, non-offensive touchdowns? So, we want to continue to work and try to develop and be able to continue to do those things and get the turnovers. That's where it starts. And if we can finish them, great. If we can do it on special teams, I think it's a huge advantage. How it affects a team, I mean, you got to try to coach your team to play the next play so those things don't affect you. And I think that's the one thing that, I'm trying to give our team a lot of credit for, is they had those things happen and it didn't affect them in the game. And they kept playing and executing and got ourselves back in the game. And, crazy game. But the only way we stayed in it was because we stayed with it and didn't let those things affect us.
One more here with Alex.
I just wanted to ask, obviously Jalen started the last 2, played the majority of the snaps this season. Are you ready to name him the full-time starter, or has that been discussed?
No, I think I would leave that up to you guys. You can determine whether you think he's going to start or not. I'm not really making any announcements or anything like that on that. I mean, not that that was a dumb question or anything, but,
Coach, we have time for one more here. Right back here. Sorry.
Nick, you said you might not remember the games when you were at Kent State, but when you were a freshman, there was a traumatic incident that happened with the National Guard. How did that affect you throughout your life, and especially in coaching, how you deal with young people?
Well, I think it was probably certainly to that point in my life, one of the most traumatic experiences I think that I'd ever had to deal with. To have students on your campus shot, killed, and actually didn't see it happen, but saw the aftermath right after it happened. And it's made me have a lot of appreciation for a lot of things. It actually made me appreciate the fact that law and order is very important, but it also made me appreciate the fact of what those students were trying to express in terms of, the Vietnam War and the demonstrations that they were having, but and the confrontation that occurred was unnecessary. There's a film out of it actually happening. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to watch it, but they had already tear gassed the crowd, broke up the martial law, so you couldn't have a meeting. So Monday noon they had a meeting anyway, or gathering, and it was kind of over, and the National Guard was actually marching up the hill, and all of a sudden they wheeled around and fired into the crowd. So nobody could ever quite figure out how that happened. It seemed pretty unnecessary. But I had class with one of the students that were killed, Allison Krause, and I didn't know her or anything, but that well. But it was a pretty chilling experience, and something that makes you view things a little bit differently, and certainly you have a much better appreciation of not taking for granted life itself. So it was, and it probably had more to do to stop the war in Vietnam than anything that happened, unfortunately. I mean, for the students. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.